Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to Tit-Bits on Business and Finance with me. The receding consumer demand in India continues to slow down the Indian economy and there is still no revival in sight. A desperate government has been putting money into the hands and pockets of households and corporates, hoping that because of that they will start spending, investing such that demand will go up, the economy's growth will shoot up. The government has been taking a number of initiatives such as to put liquidity and cash into the system. The latest one being loan melas which have been forced down very reluctant banks. The thought process is that if money is put into circulation into the system, it will reach the larger, real, bigger economy and will trigger demand, will trigger growth. Lots of initiatives have been taken so far to pump money into the system. And if you go by the aggregate impact so far of these initiatives, it could mean putting over 5 lakh crores into the system, hoping that it will revive production, investment and consumption. So what are those? The tax rate cuts are expected to give a saving of 1.45 lakh crores to corporates by way of reduced taxes. That's money in their pockets. The government hopes that it will be put into investments. Very interestingly, many corporates do not think that the benefit of tax rate cuts that they are getting is going to be put into investments. So the first is tax rate cuts. The second is the government has very clearly said that all the pending refunds that are there under the GST to the MSME sector, and those are to the tune of 20,000 crores, will be refunded within a month's time, which should end very soon. The government is also directing the large corporates to immediately clear dues of the MSME sector, and that amounts to 40,000 crores. The government has also said that vendor dues of the government to the tune of 25,000 crores will also be repaid immediately such that money reaches into the hands of the MSMEs. The government has given a line of credit of 1 lakh crores to the NBFC sector, hoping that because of that NBFCs will lend, and again as I said, liquidity in the system will improve. On a similar basis, housing finance companies have been given a credit line of 30,000 crores by the government so as to give an impetus to affordable housing such that demand for houses go up. The finance minister has also front-loaded the recapitalization of public sector banks to the tune of 50,000 crores, and she says that PSUs are being encouraged to spend more and more, invest more and more, such as to trigger consumption, investment, production and spending in the country. These measures at the moment now are triggering or rather resting on lending by banks. One of the prime initiatives of the government now to put money in the hands of the people has been lending, and in that the loan mela stands out. The finance minister, while talking to a group of editors in Bombay recently, said that her prime priority is putting liquidity, putting money into the hands of the people such that consumption does not get delayed or withheld for lack of funds. She also says that bank loans are being given so that corporates scale up their operations such that it also results in the creation of additional jobs. She also said that there is enough liquidity with banks, they have got enough funds. Banks have got no shortage of funds, making it very clear that they have been directed by the FM to lend copiously. And in focus particularly is the MSME sector. While the finance minister is pushing for such lending, the reality is that lending is not taking place. The FM is right when she says that there are enough funds in the system, but the reality is that banks are reluctant lenders today. In the last 6 months in particular, deposits received by banks have been far in excess of loans given by them, showing lot of surplus liquidity with them. Banks have preferred to park the surplus liquidity with the Reserve Bank of India. In fact, in the last 6 months, banks have deposited over 2 lakh crores with the Reserve Bank of India, preferring safety of funds than risking it for the sake of returns. And the reason is that the number of credit downgrades today, the rating downgrades, are much more than the upgrades, showing a deterioration in the general economy and the conditions of the corporate sector. Thus, credit has slowed down. Bank credit, which used to be about 12.38% growth rate about a year ago, today it has come down to 8.74%, which is a 3-year low. And the worst sufferers in this has been the SME sector. The growth rate of credit to the SME sector last year was to the tune of 6.2% around this time. It has now fallen to a mere 2.9%, such that disbursals to the SME sector from banks are down 50%. The lending to the system has also gone down because of the poor condition, the pathetic condition that we see of the NBFC sector today. And all this is also further visible from the fact that the overall NPAs in the system have risen by 31,600 crores between July 2018 to June 2019, thus showing a further deterioration in the lending or the asset or the loan quality, as we call it, deterring banks from lending. The asset quality of banks, as we call it, has gone down such that banks today are risk averse. They are certainly not happy lending, and the sharpest slowdown in this kind of lending, reluctance to lend, has been in the case of the SME sector, something confirmed by a recent CIBIL and SIDBI report on the MSME sector. Despite this condition, or despite this reluctance to lend, and the fact is banks have got the money, but they are reluctant to lend for a very specific reason: deterioration of the economy, deterioration of the condition of borrowers. Despite this, the government has been insisting on loan melas. The loan melas have been virtually forced on the bankers by the FM, and the FM very triumphantly announced that in the first segment of the loan mela, which was held from 1st October to 9th October, banks have disbursed 82,000 crores to the MSME sector in particular. This perhaps is also because of the fact that the FM has forced the bankers and set a target on them that for every one existing borrower, they need to get in 5 more borrowers. Thus, the FM says that lending has gone up to the MSME sector in the first half of the loan melas, which was conducted in 200 districts, and she is confident that similar lending will take place in the second leg of the loan mela, which is between the 21st of October to the 25th of October. The FM may be very elated by the fact that the banks have lent money despite their reluctance to do so, obviously being forced by the government to do so. We think there is no reason for the FM to be elated. The reality is that the SME sector is already a stretched sector. It is yet to recover from the ill effects of demonetization and the hurried GST that was forced on them. The fact that they are stressed is already evident from the directive of the government to the banks that they do not need to recognize any NPAs of the MSME sector until March 2020. In other words, the government is already aware of the stress in this sector and it has avoided recognizing this stress. And to this very sector, loan melas are lending copiously and generously. We think today's loans in these loan melas are tomorrow's NPAs. And we also think that if the UPA created huge NPAs, the NDA is also going to do that. And the mess in the banking system, the mess in the Indian economy to that extent will continue. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
If you like this video, please share it and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel.